live. Okay, live on YouTube. Today's hockey podcast will start in approximately 1 minute. Meanwhile, if you're waiting, ring that bell to subscribe to all podcasts, like the video on Facebook. As I said, we will get started in approximately 1 minute.
Okay, let's go.
We are live.
All right, Jake Vertanen, shotgun Jake. Let's go. Let's force a game 7. Let's go. Shotgun Jake. Let's go.
That's right. We have been shotgunning and shotgunning and shotgunning and shotgunning all night as...
Kevin, stop. You're making my head hurt already, dude.
Oh. We might be a little bit too loud for someone who's had 3 cups of coffee and feeling a little bit so much going on. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. Like us on Facebook, the Hockey Podcast. Ring that bell, hit that subscribe button on the bottom right corner there. Just click on that and be a subscriber to our channel, as we're both live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and of course you can subscribe on all podcast channels. And we are here to recap game the DEMIRACLE. I'm calling this the DEMIRACLE. After the miraculous victory of the Vancouver Canucks winning 4-0 last night over the Vegas Golden Knights, forcing a game 7 that is scheduled for 6 o'clock Vancouver time. Isha from the Soda Pod is here. Hello. Sorry for me being loud. Bringing the energy to the pod, as they say.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys. Always a pleasure. It's always fun to come up here, talk Canucks, and it's always a grand old time. But yeah, no, last night was a fun one. I started watching the game a little bit later because I was driving home from my office, and my roommate just kept texting me. She's like, "We're having people over. We're watching the game. Get here quick! Like, shotgun Jake already scored. Let's go!" And I was like, "All right." So I picked up a case of beer. Got home and happily came home to a care package from my co-host on the Soda Pod, the State of Hoppy, who sent me like a ton of beers that he's been reviewing on his shows. So after I shotgunned a beer or 2 or 3 because I was so happy, and my Aussie roommate, I wanted to show her what it's like in Canuckland when Jake Vertanen scores a goal. Then the wine started rolling and the celebrations just continued. One quick little side note to add to that story is we were actually as my old roommate, she just moved out, who is from Australia, and she's touring around BC now that it's a little bit more safe and checking out this beautiful province. And so we're bringing in a new roommate, and we were actually we brought him over around 7:45 just to talk a little bit about like, hey, here's the room, let's show you around. We've been texting, emailing back and forth. cracked open a bottle of wine. We're like, hey, want to watch the Canucks game? Want to have a glass of wine? And I just said goodbye to him actually because he crashed on the couch because we all had a grand old time drinking beers and popping wine. And needless to say, the room is his. So I'm going to help him get all settled here a little bit later. But no, boys, it was such a fun night. Canucks going to Game 7, winning 2 games which they had no business winning, but thank God we have a backup in Thatcher Demko, who I think pleasantly surprised the entire market with how competitive this kid is and kind of like the force field that's been around him for these last 2 games. But no, it's been such a fun ride, guys.
It's great. It's great to hear. Sean, how are you doing? Did we lose Sean?
Mic's off, Sean.
I'm ecstatic. I'm absolutely over the moon in terms of how they managed to pull off another freaking miracle. And Thatcher Demko just really stepping up and just making this series something that we never thought we'd actually see. A comeback that maybe we can find a way to enjoy an absolute miracle in a 3-1 series deficit comeback. Like who would have thought of that after like even game 3 when the Canucks lost a game shutout again. Like it's just the series has been put on its head.
That's true. And then back from wherever the heck he's been, golfing, traveling the world, whatever you've been doing, the man about town, Devin, is joining us. Hello, Devin.
Hey.
Thanks for coming with us. Thanks for joining. I'm not calling you the outsider intentionally, but you are a little bit of the outsider here. How are you feeling? What are you seeing? Maybe bring that outside perspective of what you've seen the last couple of days. And maybe I'll start this with this question. Isha already said that the Canucks have had no business winning these last 2 games. Is that really the case?
Well, first of all, it's good to be back. I had to take a bit of a hiatus. Both my teams got bumped hard, and it's been hard on me. So I had to go to Panorama. Had to go on a golf trip just to clear my head, to make sure that I can come back level-headed coming into it. But yeah, no, there's no reason why the Canucks should be here other than Thatcher Demko. Period. End of story. I don't care what anybody else says. It's unbelievable how well he's played, and it just looks like he's living rent free in the Vegas Golden Knights' head right now, and they just can't get it past him other than that 1 goal. So being an outsider, I'm happy to see a Canadian team doing well, and yeah, I'm ecstatic for all the Canucks fans, and me being a Leafs and Flames fan. It's hard to say that, and obviously having my brother on the pod as well. Seeing him happy makes me happy, but seeing him upset makes me even more happy. So overall, it's good to see the Canucks doing well.
Okay, so you think this is Demko. Isha thinks seems to be all Demko. Sean, what say you?
Oh, it is totally all Demko. 90 saves in two games, coming in cold after like 5-6 months of getting maybe like 8.5 minutes of throwaway relief hockey, and then just coming in and just taking the series over. It's all Demko. As much as we want to praise Brock Besser for his Game 5 heroics and then Game 6 from Quinn Hughes, it is still all Demko.
91 saves as always, isn't it? Not 90, 91.
He took 1 away from him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to give Demko the credit he deserves, but you know what? Okay, 90.
I just, I agree. It is. I'm going to say 95. I'll play devil's advocate here. I'm going to say 95%. This has been Demko, but I do think that there's been other factors in here. I think Devin said something rather interesting. I do think that I think Demko is living rent free in the Vegas Golden Knights' head. This is the second time that they have blown a 3-1 series lead. They blew the lead, and remember this: they blew the series against the San Jose Sharks. They had the 3-1 series lead. They had the lead against the San Jose Sharks in Game 7. They blew that, and now they're blowing this. I talked about the fact that they are lacked the killer instinct. I think that this is certainly proving my case right. I don't usually pat myself on the back, but let me pause here, because I did say if the Canucks won game 5, they would win Game 6. So let me just do that there. Okay, because you guys will not do that. But I also think that the Canucks have been opportunistic and have created. They have taken advantage of their opportunities. And they, offensively, while the Vegas Knights are taking a lot of shots and they're doing a lot of shot attempts, I'd have to do a lot more dissecting to say that they've had they've had great chances, but are they just throwing pucks at the net to be willy-nilly and hoping something is going in? Or are some of these shots like Quinn Hughes' third goal shot, or what Pettersson did on JT Miller's goal, is there an intelligence to it? Or is Vegas kind of right now just hoping a puck goes off Demko's butt and in?
Well, I don't think it's that simple, but definitely in the last game, that's what they were doing. Most of their shot chances weren't elite scoring chances. A lot of them were just peppering on the net. And I understand that with or without a killer instinct, you want to get this goaltender off his game a little bit and at least get him moving. And then maybe if he lets one in, the confidence that he's like basically oozing right now, maybe he'll fade a little bit. I think, I can pick up what you're putting down, Kevin. I just think that overall, you can see that the Canucks for 90, sometimes even 80% of the games, the last 2 games in particular, and game 1 in this series, they've looked like the team who's been dominated. Vegas has controlled the neutral zone. They've applied more pressure in the offensive zone, whether they're getting shot attempts on or not. It just seems like they're the team that's kind of driving the bus in this series. However, and something that my friend Dylan and I were talking about yesterday, he's the host on the Hockey Podcast Network of the San Jose Sharks podcast, speaking of the San Jose Sharks. It's obviously, since he followed that series last year against the Vegas Golden Knights with the San Jose Sharks, he's a little dialed into how Vegas plays and whatnot. And he was saying that for the most part in Game 5 and for parts of Game 6, the shot board wasn't relevant. If you watched the game, you saw that the Canucks actually were holding their own. They were playing good hockey. And yeah, once it got to third line matchups, fourth line matchups, Vegas would get more shots because their fourth line matchup or third line matchup against our bottom 6, respectively, the Vancouver Canucks, that is, they just have the more scoring talent. So whether they set up the more elite scoring chances, the more elite plays or not, we saw them more in the Canucks zone than probably we wanted to. And I think that kind of swayed the narrative a bit. But overall, Markstrom's brought the Vancouver Canucks to this series, and Demko's the one who's maintained it. And what a story it would be, guys, if the Canucks beat the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 7, advance in the West in the playoffs, and it's on the back of a young goaltender. I mean, Vancouver Canucks Twitter is going to go crazy, completely throwing Markstrom now out the back door and going all in on Demko as I assume they will. But it's going to be unbelievable if that happens. And I really think now watching this game, and I was just as much of a pessimist as everybody else. Not that I had anything against Demko, it was just for what you said, guys. He came off rusty. I mean, Matt Sakaris of TSN 1040 tweeted, Thatcher Demko, 6 months, 2 stars, and 1 goal in 5 periods. I mean, and this guy may lead you to the promised land past the best team in the West. It's unbelievable, and I have to give all the props to him. I will say one thing, though, and we can maybe use this as a segue or something here, is the Canucks have been dominant in the faceoff dot in this series, and I have a friend who hosts the Stick and Rink podcast, and he was kind of joking with the Vegas with some of our Vegas hosts here on the network who they're giving each other a little crap here, going back and forth. And his rebuttal, because he didn't really have anything else at the time, was, we're winning faceoffs win series, we're winning faceoffs win series. And now I kind of want to message our Vegas guys and be like, faceoffs win series.
Yeah, if the Canucks can find a way to finish this ridiculous run off and knock off Vegas on the back of Thatcher Demko, that will be a game changer for the situations for the Canucks going past this year. No matter what happens, no matter how far they go, no matter or don't go. Once this offseason starts, it's going to be an absolute ridiculous one for Jim Benning. He's got so much work to do to try and not only bring back what the top players that are looking like fits in this situation, but like find a way to add to the team and make it better. So having an option to just go with Demko going forward is a game changer. It just opens up cap space that the Canucks were not expecting to have.
Well, there's that, or if they are scared to lose one of their goaltenders in the expansion draft, shit, you could flip Demko now for a lot more than if you do want to go, if the Canucks do choose to go with their starter in Jacob Markstrom for 4 or 5 years, and they have to get rid of a goaltender that they don't want to lose in the expansion draft. Demko's value has shot through the roof, assuming he can continue his dominant play in a backup role next season. But now the Vancouver Canucks have options, and they can actually probably get a solid piece for Demko straight up, or they could actually package him in something to really address their cap and get a piece. I was talking to a friend and said you could package Demko and even. I'm just speculating, but you could package Demko and Besser for like a legit top defender now moving forward if you wanted to, and that would help a cap a little bit and it would address a spot of need. So I think this is it's obviously a good problem to have. It all comes down to general manager Jim Benning, who he's been a hit and miss when it comes to trade. He's been a hit and miss when it came to building this team. I think a more elite GM would have been able to do it faster. I don't want to take anything away from what Jim Benning has built because clearly it's working. But he does have a lot of work to do this summer. And as a fan who's been kind of hit and miss on him, back like some of his moves I'll praise, some of his moves I'll cringe a little bit. This offseason's crucial, and it's really going to make or break his time with the Vancouver Canucks, right? Because if he messes this up, he's gone. It's over. It's way too many chances.
Whoa. Let's calm the fuck down here. Holy. We still have one more game to go, fellas. I understand the whole hype around it, and it's exciting. I understand that, but let's pump the brakes here. You're talking about a goalie who hasn't played a full game since Game 5. The last time that he played was March 15th. That's the last time he played a full NHL game, and let alone having that massive break of COVID. He looks tired. He looks exhausted at the end of the day. Playing a back-to-back on top of that for a Game 7, I don't know. I don't know if he has it in him to continue this role. And there's nothing against him whatsoever. I mean, if you're looking at the shot attempts, it's 90 shots like we're talking about before. Throughout the past 2 games, Game 5 and Game 6, there's 43 blocked shots from the Canucks. Altogether, that's 133 shots attempt on net. No matter if it hits the net, those 43 other shots that are going towards him, he has to go up and down. He just looks exhausted. So I don't think you have to worry about him for the first 20 to 40 minutes of the game. It's going to be that last period that it could be potentially devastating towards the Canucks going forward. But, okay. I love the enthusiasm about talking about Markstrom or Demko, but let's get through this first game. Let's get through the Game 7 tonight first before we start talking about
dude,
that.
Trust me, I'd want just that. But like after Demko won Game 1, half the media in Vancouver are already saying, "See you later, good night, Jim Kite," to our friend Markstrom there. But no, I get what you're saying, and I'm on board. Like I am by no means someone who's I'm a realist, and so yesterday. I probably should have bet on the Canucks minus 280. I probably should have dropped 20 or 50 or $100 on there, but I didn't because I'm like, there's no way they're winning the game. Today, I'm still like, especially with the back-to-back and everything you said, it's kind of an unproven goaltender. He's playing, potentially out of his mind right now. Vegas can't seem to solve him, and he's faced the amount of shots that he has. Obviously, he's going to be tired. Obviously, the whole Canucks team is going to be tired. So I don't think I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I think it's a conversation that needs to be had in that, like, this guy can play, whether it's at the elite level he's playing at now taking on the best team in the West or even in a backup role, the Canucks are going to have to make some changes next year anyways. And I feel like this is helping that process a little bit more. If a goaltender ups his value, that's always a good thing. And I feel like they have a little bit more rope because they play periodically, especially backups. They have a little bit more rope in their value. Whereas a player who maybe his value went up in 20 games and then he had a bad stretch in 5, a player's value can drop pretty quick. But a goaltender, it's kind of like you need to see a lot of consistency of that particular player failing for their value to plummet. And I think, like I said, right now Demko's making a name for himself, not necessarily to be a starter in the league, but to be a piece that I think any team would be interested in inquiring about.
The one thing I will back Devin up on, though, is I think the Edmonton Oilers are a tale of caution for the Vancouver Canucks. The Oilers went through to the second round. They have McDavid and Draisaitl. Everything seemed to, Cam Talbot was on fire. The Oilers, they were finally on their way, and then they crashed. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen to the Canucks, but I don't think that we can it certainly proves there is a tale of caution that success isn't necessarily as linear as we want it to believe in the National Hockey League. So that's where I do see where Devin is saying, like, we do need to pump our brakes a little bit about what is going on. And even with Thatcher Demko, where he is at right now, this is fantastic. Nobody's ever going to dispute that. But Matt Murray won a Stanley Cup. Jordan Binnington also won a Stanley Cup. And they are not in the same position that they were during the Stanley Cup that they are right now. So I do think that there is some tales of caution out there that we can't just assume once this run is over, whenever this run is over, that everything is going to be okay. This is probably going to be Jim Benning's most important work because
it is 100%.
It's going to have to be ruthless at this point. Whatever.
Depending on how you want to look at it, are they in a 2-year win now cycle to try and capitalize on Hughes and Pettersson on cheap contracts, or are they looking a little bit longer term and trying to figure out how to work the system and when they're two of their top prospects up front, at least Hoglander and Podkolzin are in, hopefully on cheap contracts. So I don't know. It is Jim Benning's make or break off season for sure. And if he fails, then all this is or not. But right now, I think the big thing to take away right now is just how good it's the young players. The young core is leading the way here. Pettersson is looking absolutely fantastic. Hughes is
last night was out of his mind. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. And then you've got you're getting people stepping up from all over the place too. You have, and then JT Miller again. He's been in on like 8 of the last 9 Canucks goals, I think, or something like that. It's great to see. The pieces are there. It's just whether or not they can put it together. And yes, you can say that the Oilers are a cautionary tale, but I think it's the Canucks are going to have to make some very tough decisions, and the Markstrom Demko choice is potentially one of them.
Now,
okay, go ahead.
I just want to say that, if I was Jim Benning, I would get rid of Markstrom personally.
Really?
And
okay.
Yes, the reason why is because the amount of depth at the UFA market for the goalies this year it's massive. It's probably the best it's ever been. Period. So
true, but I'm just
a
quick.
1A, 1B, right? Of Demko and possibly like Thomas Greiss or even a Leonard. Who knows? Who knows who's going to be available, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. But this is the one thing that, and this is not even coming from a place of bias following the Canucks. It's like when you have one of the best goaltenders in the league, though, and you can potentially bring them in on a shorter term than they would if they hit free agency in a Jacob Markstrom. I think that's an opportunity that you kind of have to take, because I'd argue that Markstrom was a top 5 goalie in the league this year, and maybe you can make that argument for last year as well. And he's in his prime right now. I highly doubt, the Canucks are going to dish him 6 years. So if they can get him on a 4-year deal with a little bit of a higher cap and be like, let's go for it now, then I personally think you go with the established top 5 goaltender in the league rather than your backup who's been kind of unproven, has the talent, and then go with, like you said, a Thomas Greiss who's good, but you're going with the double goalie tandem where you're both going to have to pay them, a decent chunk. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on the matter, and it's either or though, and that comes down to the decision. It's like you have to go all in on one plan with the Demko plan and another backup, or you have to go all in on your starters. So, like you said, it's a good problem to have, but holy crap, is it stressful?
Yeah, that's the other piece. It's not like Markstrom's been bad. It's just that let's look at Columbus. Like I made this reference a couple times already. If you look at how good Korpisalo and Merzlikins have looked through this past season after losing a Vezina caliber goaltender.
That's true.
It can be done. So it's just, but they got like, who knows when they can even they're even thinking about that, because they win tonight. That's at least another week or two before they even have to even remotely think about that.
And they're not thinking about it. The fans are thinking about it. That's why we're here.
But let me throw a question out, because I heard Travis Green say something last night. He did say Markstrom's name. Is there a possibility that we see Markstrom tonight? If he is 100%, who are you going with tonight?
Is he pulling the St. Louis Blues here? Like, come on, you got to go with Demko. You can't put in the banged up starter who's doesn't have the momentum, regardless of if it's a back-to-back. I think.
Even if Markstrom's 100%, you still go with Demko. You got to ride your hot goalie, and the way that you can argue the way that the Canucks are playing in front of him, but they want him to win. You saw how happy they were for him to get that shutout last night, right? And having that camaraderie, you can't do that, especially from a make or break from Game 5, Game 6, and then he's proved himself. You got to run with Demko.
I'm sure they understand the situation, and it's a back-to-back, which is the only thing that changes it, that really changes the thought process for me. If it was we're talking about Game 7 on Saturday, it's totally, you totally go with Demko. He's shown like he's dialed in.
Yeah.
But on the back-to-back,
game was on Saturday at all.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, with it being back-to-back, that's the only thing that can really change it. And if Markstrom says he's 100%, which he's not, you play Markstrom. He's your starter. You can say he did an absolute admirable job, Demko, but like it's back-to-back. You understand that. Like you want the fresher goalie.
I don't think back-to-back has anything really to do with it, to be honest. Like you talk, it's more about the amount of shots that he's taken or the amount of like work that he's had within the past 2 games. To me, the whole back-to-back scenario for any team, I don't buy it. I really don't. If anything, like they'll be more fresh and they'll be like dialed in more. But I think just the amount of shots that he's had and the amount of work that he's done in the past 2 games, that's the only thing that I would be worried about.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we saw like when Markstrom came off the back-to-back, it didn't look too good either. And a lot of people are saying, well, you can't do that in the playoffs. You can't have a back-to-back. It's so unheard of. But because we're in this bubble and these crazy times that we're seeing these back-to-back games, we're seeing condensed schedules of 5 games in 7 days. It's just it's insanity. But I do agree with what you said there. Especially when it comes to Demko, where it's a little bit different than Markstrom, because Markstrom's been like the team's been riding Markstrom until like this point, until this series. So he's obviously a little bit more banged up. He's obviously a little bit more tired. Where Demko the last 2 days has been probably getting exhausted with everything everything that you highlighted earlier there, Devin. But the one thing is he hasn't been riding, or the team hasn't been riding him this entire series. He's a little bit more fresh, and now he's warmed up, for lack of a better term. Well, he's really warmed up now after the last 2 games. So I think it's a little bit different than the situation with Markstrom. Because if anyone's listening wants to rebuttal and say, well, Markstrom got hurt after 2 games, do you really want to do that? Well, this is the make or break game. You put all your chips in the center right now, and I would have to think that Demko's going with it, and I think he'll be okay. Do I think he's going to be like out of his mind like the last 2 days. I'll double down like what I said the last 2 games. I don't think so. I think that the Vancouver Canucks in front of him have to help win this series too when it comes down to it. They have to capitalize on their scoring opportunities and their defense. Their defense is doing an outstanding job in blocking shots and stuff like that. So I don't even want to say that their defense has to be any better. I think their defense is playing as good as they can for the pieces they have. Everyone's just going to have to, and then this is the obvious saying here, but everyone's going to have to step it up. It can't just be on Demko, because if he does leak one, maybe the confidence, gets taken down a little bit, and you want to make sure that he's, like you saw, all smiles, all excited, and ready to lead this Canucks team past the Vegas Golden Knights. And I can't believe I'm even muttering that sentence, but it's Game 7, and anything can happen in hockey.
Well, here's my thing. To me, the difference tonight is going to be who has the better goalie coach or in-tune goalie coach. Because if you're the Vegas Golden Knights, you also you do have a question who you're starting tonight. Because you're either starting Leonard, Leonard didn't get it done, and you've got a guy that's won a Stanley Cup in Fleury. So you've got a decision to make tonight too. So I think whoever is the goalie coach that's in tune where the goalies are at, I think will win tonight's game.
Well, it just depends on where the for one thing there, Kev. I think we're making assumptions on Markstrom that I don't know if it's there. I think that was a plan. I think that was a planned statement from Travis Green, just to more subterfuge that he's loving to do these days.
Which is fun to see from a guy who was pretty vanilla all season.
Yeah. I want my name on a stick. Can I have my name on a stick?
But I think that's he's just doing a little look at me over here distraction, I think. So I do think that it is basically Demko for the Canucks. Of course, they got to be better in front of him again. Yeah, it's that simple. If they are relying on him to make another 40 save performance, then they're in trouble.
That's the thing. They can't take a step back. They got to keep their feet on the gas, right, and help their goaltender out.
As far as the Golden Knights go, I think we got to ask Alan Walsh who's going to be in net for the Golden Knights. Who knows? I think honestly they'll go with Fleury though. I truly believe that they'll put Fleury in.
From a Canucks perspective, you want to see Leonard again, though, don't you? So bad, because you're like, they must be, living in his head now. And oh man, that's from a Canucks point of view, you definitely want to see Leonard in there. I agree with you, Devin, though. I think that the smarter move is Marc-Andre, and he's proven that he can step out of a backup role and really rise to the occasion, much like Demko has.
And I wouldn't even put any of those goals on Leonard. Two of them, Petey's been in front of the net screening Leonard. And Leonard has had no chance at any of those 3 goals. Obviously, the fourth one's an empty netter. I mean, Virtanen. Okay, hold on. I want to break down Virtanen's goal, and and I want to prop up Aisha for talking about face-offs, because it was a good defensive zone draw win, great breakout, dump and chase by Tyler Mott. Get dirty, get behind the net, because that's what playoff hockey is all about, right? Is the grind, and that's exactly what that line needs to do. And Virtanen came in with speed, picked up the puck, and put it in the net. That is textbook what that third, fourth line needs to do. Period.
Now, if only Jakey Poo could be consistent, maybe we sign him long term.
But the way that the bottom 6 is played, I mean, Alex Tuch there hasn't been a forward on the Vegas Golden Knights have not scored a goal on Demko yet. So, again, it seems to me like, again, they're throwing everything, and the Golden Knights are dominating, but at the times it does seem like the best players for the Canucks are doing their job for the most part. And you also got to give a little bit of credit to the penalty kill last night. Golden Knights were 0 for 4 heading into the third period. I'll let Sean talk about the reffing, but
I think all series, the penalty kill has been good for the Canucks. I don't think that's been probably one of their biggest strengths outside the goaltending, Demko was.
So, I mean, there's been a lot of little things that I feel like the Canucks are doing overall that I think has gotten them into this place. And I guess that leads us to Travis Green. I mean, we haven't really talked a lot about him. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Demko. We need to talk about, what an important job Benning is in. But really, Travis Green, even after game 5, when it was 3-1, he didn't really sway. He didn't really say, we're talking about the subterfuge, but just the calmness that he saw in his team and the ability to read where he has been, where this team has been at. And I think I don't know if we're giving him enough credit for what has been done here. And I know sometimes in hockey, we don't give coaches a lot of credit because it's mostly it's goaltender first, but I think he deserves some credit for where we're at right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, definitely. Because he's been really good at swapping the lines a little bit and figuring out, not being set in his ways and being willing to change things up when needed. Going away from the Lotto line a little bit earlier on in the playoffs, and then being willing for him to come back. Like come back to it and not be afraid to do it. It's great. It's and then his work with just his work with the lines, I think alone just says so much with what the evolution of the coach that is Travis Green.
I love how he's a player's coach through and through, though. You can see it on the bench, and him being a former player and a damn good one that is. I think that speaks so much to how he operates there behind the bench. And a lot of coaches are former players at the highest level, or in some sense, but it's different when a former player or a coach who's a former player can really, really get the best out of their group by being both that hard-nosed coach, a little bit of old school mentality, but also understand how these young players operate today and what it takes to get them fired up, motivated, and also show that like we're all in this together. It's not me just screaming at you guys, drawing up the plays here. It's a collective. And I really, without being in the room, without having spoken to Travis Green personally, from talking to people who are in that room who cover the Vancouver Canucks, and also from what I see and the way he talks to the media, and just honestly, I love keeping tabs of his body language and stuff on the bench. He seems like him and his players are all on the same page. And when they bleed, he bleeds. When they cry, he cries. And I really, really appreciate that.
That's a great point. Whenever you think about a hockey team, you think about a hockey team, and then you think about the coach, and then you think about the GM.
Yeah.
Right? As separate entities. And another great coach like Travis Green is Rob Brindamore, and I feel they are
100%
cloth, right? And you said it
great
best.
comparison, yeah.
Yeah, you said it best. They cry together, they bleed together. It doesn't seem like there's that separation because they're all on the same page. They're buying in, and that shows good playoff teams have that, period.
And what's funny? I can't believe Travis Green hasn't been fined yet, since he's just as much or more vocal to the officials than Brindamore is, let me tell you. But I guess it's because he's doing it from the bench, not in the media. No, that's such a great comparison, man. I'm a huge Brindamore fan. Him being from Vancouver Island, where I'm from, I'm just south of Campbell River, and that's where he's from. And even the Junior B team in Campbell River, the Campbell River Storm, they play out of the Ron Brindamore Arena up there. So he's a big deal on the Vancouver Island, and I love that comparison because you said they're cut from the same cloth, and I'd argue that they coach very much the same way. The only difference is Travis Green is not working out as much as Rod the Bod these days. So though he's bleeding, crying, and everything with the team, he ain't working out with the team. I'll tell you that much.
You're not worried about a flex off between Brindamore and Green. You're not. Green walks out without a shirt and gets some different calls there.
Although Green seems super fiery though, that if they drop the mitts even today, despite the muscle mass that Rod has on our boy Travis Green there, I still think Travis could throw down.
Yeah, he probably could absorb some of it, and maybe a little bit later.
He could probably throw one or two and then just get pounded.
Possibly, yeah. Possibly. What else? Is there anything else? I'm trying to. There was really, I think. Have we covered everything on this, or what else have we?
I just want to say that the Besser, Miller, Pettersson line has been the best line and on the ice in my mind, like period, with both teams. They've been working hard. Petey is a beast. I did not expect this from him, and Sean has been pumping his tires, saying that he actually gives a shit, and he's kind of one of those players that you want on your team because he cares, and it's showing in his play.
He's never phased either, right? You look at his face and it's like always dialed in, not super upset, not super happy. He's kind of always in that like mid-range, and that's what you need. You need those even-keeled Swedes on your team.
Totally. And on the JT Miller goal, he made a big hit on, I believe it was on Holden.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Hughes, another, oh, what a beast. Oh my God. If people don't realize how good Hughes is is a generational player, period. End of story. You need to watch him. If you're not watching, I mean, if you listen to this podcast, you're watching him and you're following the Canucks. But he's unbelievable. But yeah, Petey, I would not expect him to be that fiery and that gritty. But he's going to the front of the net, like the gritty spots on the ice, and that's where you need to be. And he's the definition. The way he's playing is the definition of a winner. Period.
Yeah, and imagine when he actually fills out, and his, for lack of a better term, like his body fills out and he actually like looks like a man out there. Because right now he still looks like a boy. He still looks like a teenager. But like give it 2 more years, and he's already bulked up quite a bit, and he just looks like he's got the facial hair now. He doesn't have the little poustache anymore. He's starting to look more like a force. And if he plays like that, imagine fills out a little bit more and even gets the I don't know, he reminds me of Datsuk, right? If he just gets a couple more pounds on him, not in the sense that like he has to eat more, he has to get on a regimen. No, he's going to fill out a little bit. He's not even 25 yet. He's not even fully developed yet, if we're going scientific here. Once he hits that range and he's in his prime, both developmentally on a physical side, but also a few more years under his belt, another playoff series or 2, he's going to be the next Pavel Datsyuk. He's going to be one of the best defensive and all-around forwards in the game. Having said all of that, after praising his tires or pumping his tires that much, I still think Quinn Hughes is probably the best. I'm not even going to say probably. Quinn Hughes is the best player on this team. He has a higher ceiling than Elias Pettersson in my mind, because whether, I know Hughes right now is still learning. He's been having his off nights and stuff. Come next year, this guy's not going to have that many off nights.
And it looks like Petey is one of those guys who's going to physically develop a little bit later, while Hughes seems to be filling out his frame more naturally quicker, which is good for him because of he's seeing the punishment he'll have to put up with for the next 10, 15, 20 years because he's that damn good, and he's going to be around and be a top player for a long time. Just the way he thinks the game it blows my mind more than his skating, and his skating is absolutely fantastic.
And the chemistry with JT Miller, I mean, a lot of us, me personally, I thought he was a damn good player before the Canucks acquired him. When I saw the trade, I wasn't as critical as everyone, in the market. I knew that, okay, if you want to get players who put up 50 plus points, because that was kind of, I think collectively everyone thought, okay, JT Miller coming in probably with 40 to 50 points with the Canucks. You have to pay for those players. I'm sorry. That's the league. Anyone who plays be a GM on their freaking NHL video game knows that you got to overpay sometimes, even a little bit, to get that player you want. The Canucks paid what they had to pay to acquire him, and it doesn't look like they're going. They're continuing to rebuild. They're all in now to not necessarily maybe go all in to make the plan to win the cup, but they're all in to be competitive. And they have a chance to right now.
Yeah, it's certainly. I mean, with these two, with Pettersson and Hughes, it's not unreasonable to think that there's a Stanley Cup final. It could be this year. It could be. I'm not discounting that at all in any way, shape, or form. I mean, if they get past the Golden Knights, we'll have a conversation about that. I'll leave that for that. But within the next 5 years, to me, where the Canucks at, it wouldn't surprise me if they're in the Stanley Cup final within the next.
They have a core. They have 2 centers who can be a 1A, 1B. They have one of the best defenders in the league, and this is his first year. And they have, assuming they go with Jacob Markstrom, they have a top goalie. That's the framework for a team. If you can build around that properly, if you can fit it within the flat cap, this Canucks team can be good for the next 10 years.
Who would you rather have, though? And I'm serious when I'm asking this question, and I do think that there's a legitimate debate. Pettersson, Hughes, McDavid, Draisaitl.
Pettersson, Hughes, because you've got you've got a generational defenseman and a very good number 1C. Like with McDavid, Draisaitl, you just have two really good top 5 players in the world, but you don't have defense, and you need to spread that out. You need to spread your skill out.
Oh, man, that's a hard one. That's a hard one.
I'll jump in and I'll say that I'm with Sean. You got to have a number 1 defenseman, and you got to have a number 1 center, and that defense wins championships at the end of the day, guys. And you can't really go against that. I mean, look at where Edmonton is now. Where are they? They're out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys, and I'm the biggest Canucks fan, just as much as most of you on this podcast, anyways. And I still think McDavid's the modern day Bure, and if you have an opportunity to have him on your team, I'm going to say Draisaitl, and that argument aside with Hughes, because I do agree you want a generational defender, absolutely, if you're building a team, but I still think you want McDavid on your team every day, just despite that.
Oh, this is not a disrespect to McDavid.
No, I understand. I'm being devil's advocate, and I honestly, I was thinking about him, my Canucks fandom and listening to your argument and my love for Hughes. I want to say that, but it'd be like if you gave me that same sort of comparison, but it was Crosby in his prime. I'm taking Crosby every single day because that guy he's the best. Still is in my mind, one of the best players in the league. McDavid, I mean, man, he's something else. But I do agree, if you're looking at the whole team sense, and probably the smarter answer is Pettersson, Hughes. But fuck, man, it's Connor McDavid. I can't go against him.
Yeah, no, listen.
Yeah.
As much as we joust about the Oilers here, nobody's going to dispute the greatness of Connor McDavid. There are some issues. We'll leave it there. That's what I'll say. Any other things that we need to talk about?
Well, I don't. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
I want to talk about schedule, by the way. That's one thing I do want to talk about. Go ahead, Devin.
Okay. I am unbelievably impressed with Bo Horvat. He has been better than advertised. I'd say even in the regular season this year, he stepped it up in the playoffs. His first period in Game 6 was immaculate. Every time he had the puck, he was buzzing. You could tell that he had a mission on his mind, and he was willing to do whatever it takes. And having that as your leadership, your number 1 leader, God, that's what you want, and that's what I feel like Calgary was missing this year. In March,
100%, yeah.
Right, and that is the player that you want to be leading your team. Period. End of story.
10 goals, 2 assists in 16 games. This guy's a beast. Unbelievable.
Probably top captain. It's a legitimate argument. He's in at least your top 5 of captains in the league right now.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yep.
The one last thing I have before we dive into the schedule, Kevin, and I don't know if this may be testing your production skills on the fly here, but I sent a link in our little chat here with my Shotgun Jake video from last night. Got a little too buckled that I had to post it this morning because, I guess I didn't last night. If you can share the screen to all the people who are watching right now, it's a good one, and I'm proud of it. Mostly because
I can do it.
I will, yeah. Mostly because my Australian.
How about this? I'm going to give you the ability to
Okay, sounds good. My Australian roommate, who, guys, I didn't know this, but in Australia, those who follow the NHL predominantly follow the Canucks because it's the closest team. And in her words verbatim, I love the angry whale. So she's honestly screaming at the TV, getting just as pumped as we are watching this game. And when I told her, do you know what the Shotgun Jake movement is? Because she's only been in Canada or in Vancouver Island for about a year. She's like, no, what's that? And I showed her the videos, showed her Tommy the Tractor guy. She was loving it. And I was like, well, he just scored. We got to do this. So I'll share that.
By the way, while you're at it, I might test your production skills because I have a question about your biking abilities.
Oh God, I can get that up too if you
No,
want.
I wanted to ask about that. So
Oh my God. Yeah, that hurt. I took a tumble. I'll try to get that up as well. But here's here's the shotgun Jake video. All right, here we go.
we can't hear it, unfortunately, but
No.
That's okay. I'm just screaming, "Let's go!" So.
she looks like she's like, whoa, what is like? This is a new Canadian feeling.
I think after I also yelled, "I love Canada," but
She looked like she did pretty well there.
yeah, it was good. It was good. And like I said, right off the hop here, it was so much fun. We did 2 more. So there you go, Jakey.
Yeah. So you're doing okay after the bike?
I'm pretty sore. I'm not gonna lie, guys. My arm's a little banged up. My whole side scraped. I didn't. I thought I had a high ankle sprain. I thought it was gonna be a game time decision for podcasting and stuff, but no, just an ankle bruise. Looks like I'm not gonna be doing much mountain biking for a couple weeks. Yeah, I can. I have the video saved somewhere. I can quickly share. Although if there's no sound coming in, you guys aren't gonna hear the thump that I hit the ground with. But basically, the quick backstory on that, guys, is I'm no experienced mountain biker. I've been doing this for about 4 or 5 months now since kind of COVID hit and wasn't working for a little while. And I live on beautiful Vancouver Island. There's so many great mountain biking trails around. So I picked that up. I had a mountain bike. And yeah, I've been doing a lot better. Usually I just do technical trails and try not to get too crazy, do it for a workout. I love doing the climbs up the hills. But I found a track that had like it was like a little pump track. There's a few good jumps. And I started to get better at them. I started to get more air and I was getting a little more confident. I was like, okay, I actually want to film one and just track my progress and see how well I'm doing. And of course, on the last run of the day, on the easiest jump, on the only one I filmed, this happened.
Oh, you don't even need sound effect for that. Like, that's, yeah.
For those of you who did not see or can't see or listen on this podcast, he almost hit a tree and then bailed hard left, stage left.
Yeah, and then I cut that video obviously to post on social media to kind of show. By the way, I was nominated for Fails Friday on pinkbike.com, so shout out Pinkbike. It was like a 2-minute video because I'm just laying there Peter Griffin style going like, and some lady and her dog walked by and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Listen, lady, I literally just hit the ground like 10 seconds ago. Can you check back in like 5 minutes?" Like, I can't talk right now. But I'm all right. I'm better than a lot of my friends are pretty intense and they do way crazier stuff than I do. And I had a friend who just like with a broken rib and a black eye, and I got a bruised ankle. I'm fine.
Yeah, thankfully it's not a high ankle sprain because that's 3 months. 3 months recovery.
And I clutched my ankle first. So like after who was listening to the podcast, go to @VI Sports Talk to check the video, or check back here on the live stream on the hockey podcast. But the first thing, like I tumbled pretty hard and scraped like my body and like the side of my body, but it was my ankle that I felt first. So I knew it was like, oh, like if I'm not feeling anything else, all adrenalined up, and I'm only feeling my ankle, it's not going to be good.
I just want to quickly talk about the schedule. We had a little bit of an interesting. We had the strike. I think it's a better way to put this. With earlier in the series, we're in the midst of these are 2 back-to-backs for the Canucks and Golden Knights. We're probably the Western Final. No matter who wins, is probably starting on Sunday. Are we cramming too much in, or what are we thinking about this schedule?
Well, it's yet again the NHL just bending at the will of NBC and putting games whenever NBC wants them. We know that NBC really values the insane weird ratings boom that comes with the Kentucky Derby, so they can't interrupt that. So unfortunately, they only had one Saturday slot available for NBC. So it just it's stupid, but yeah, unfortunately, they decided that they would have both potential Game 7s in the Western bubble, though, and that's my big grumpy about this is like what happens if Dallas Colorado goes into 2 or 3 overtimes. Like, it's just going to be an absolute shit show.
Yeah, I know. I think it's just kind of. I mean, I do agree. I do think that they're definitely making NBC happy there, but it's also they have to with the schedule now and them wanting to start the season December 1st, which I think it's going to be probably pushed to January, but that's a conversation for another day. They have a draft, they have a free agency, and they have to get it done in half the time that they're used to, and they want to have another full season. So by kind of going in with that plan, COVID permitting, they have to get these games done like that. That's why we're seeing back-to-backs. Again, like a back-to-back in a playoff series is asinine, and but it has to be done. So I'm trying not to be picky and complaining about it. I'm just living it. I'm aboard for the ride. It is what it is. There's hockey in, well, we usually see preseason in September, but there's been hockey in August and September. It's playoff hockey. It's all weird. It all doesn't make sense, but the Canucks are winning, so who cares?
Another view, because I kind of agree with Sean. I understand both sides of the story between corporations, NHL, but there's one other aspect to it is the players. The players probably want to get this over and done with as soon as possible.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in the bubble for longer than they have to be. And so, I mean, yes, it sucks, but there's 2 teams that are going to go home tonight out of the bubble. And yeah, I don't know. I think that it is unfortunate that Game 7 is played at 2 o'clock Mountain Time in the afternoon. But I mean, this is crazy times. So embrace it and just enjoy the hockey, because God, no one thought 3 or 4 days ago that we would be having 2 Game 7s. No one. Three. Sorry, I meant out of the Western Conference.
I just saw the Oprah meme on Twitter when I was scrolling through, and it's like, you get a Game 7, you get a Game 7, you all get Game 7s.
So enjoy for what it is. It's Game 7. It's hockey. Let's fucking go. Oh, I'm
Let's
excited
go.
for all 3 of these. Let's go.
First time ever that there's been 3 teams come back from a 3-1 deficit to force a Game 7.
I love this sport. I love hockey.
I believe in the history of sport, I believe that this is the first time. I'll have to check on that.
Yeah.
By the way, just before we'll sign off, we'll leave it here. I have heard from Dr. Bonnie Henry. I wanted to kind of she's come on. She had something to say maybe to Devin. This is for Devin.
Well, I was very happy to see the Canucks, and just lamenting to my colleagues who are Leafs fans. Sorry.
Oh, that was Dr. Bonnie Henry for you there.
Thank you, Jeff. My first podcast back, and you got to throw some jabs, I guess. I understand.
I had to do it. I love you, man. I love you. You know that.
Devin, I've already followed you on Twitter despite you being a Leafs fan, so you're a good dude in my books.
Yes. I think I have 23 followers now. Thank you.
How do we follow you?
Oh, I'm Gord Howe or 9 on Twitter.
I am Beardy Connect 03 on Twitter.
I'm at VS Sports Talk. Go get my podcast to follow if you like beer and hockey, at the Soda Pod.
We've got Heidi at Hyde Amazeballs. She's in the background listening. Hello. We've got Tyler. We got Tyler T Noble, TNOBLE. Schneids on his way to Kelowna as we speak. SCHNEIDZ. And of course, I am KVOLE. Podcast _hockey. Subscribe on everywhere. Follow on Instagram. Just find us. Love us. We love you. And we will be back tomorrow morning in some way, shape, or form to recap Game 7, Canucks, Golden Knights. The winner goes to the Western Conference Final. Who would have thought? Sean, what is your final word?
Let's fucking go.
There we go. All right. We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now. Hang on.